This is the 10-minute method that I utilize to find builds quickly that will make me $100,000 or more in profitability. And truth be told, usually between $200,000 and $300,000 in profitability. Now look, we want to go into a neighborhood, right? Like we want to know that zoning is what it is. If it's zoned R1 or anything that's just simple residential, we know we can build a single family home. And so that's our ultimate goal. Can I build a single family home? Now, just because there's other homes in there, don't just take it for granted. Just double check really quick. You can go in and just check the zoning and make sure that you're in a position where we know that it's an R1 zoning, really quick, fast, and simple, okay? Now, 99% of the time, it is. Now, second thing is comps. I want to go into an upper median neighborhood. I want to go into that neighborhood where there's beauty in homes. That beautiful neighborhood that you once wished that you could live in, but don't feel like now you can afford to live there, but now you have found a way to buy a piece of land, build a house, and now you can afford to live there, provided that you go out and execute and you implement and you take advantage of everything that we're talking about here today. One of the big variables is there affluency in this area? Now, we haven't checked comps yet, guys. We haven't sat down with a real estate broker. We don't even know if we're going to yet, but I want to make sure that everything that I'm doing check marks and it looks like there's affluency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into like Zillow really quick, and I'm going to go into Redfin, and I'm going to drive it. And there's going to be these little red dots, and I'm going to see these little red dots on Zillow or Redfin, and I'm going to check my drive-by comps. Those are not the comps you're going to use long-term. There's going to be more due diligence. This is just our, hey, does it pass the sniff test? Can I go in and can I make this work? And so I'm going to go in, and those comps are not perfect, but they're good enough to know like, hey, can I make money here? Because if there's not at least $275 per square foot on resale value, it doesn't work. And so I want to know, does it pass this? In really affluent areas like California, Southern Cal, Bay Area, Washington State, Seattle, Portland, some of these areas on the southern East Coast by Miami, West Palm Beach, Juniper Island, New York City, some of the most affluent areas, you're going to probably be closer to about $400 per square foot, okay, that you need to be able to hit. We just want to look at that really quick on Zillow. You could just put in your location, give Zillow your location, pull it up, and then just put in your parameters, single family homes, get rid of all the commercial stuff on there, and just look at what the home values are off of Zillow. Now, that's not where you're going to stop your due diligence once it passes the sniff test. That you're going to continue and you're going to go work with a realtor dominant in that area down the road. But right now, we just want a simple 10-minute, does it work right here? 10 minutes, does it work right here? So now we go in and we find out that the houses are about 2,600 square feet, multiplied by 275. We're going to sit back and do a really quick underwriting. We're going to sit back and go, okay, really quick underwriting. Now, when we go in, we find out that the houses are actually listing, when we divide them out by square foot, at $305 per square foot. So now we sit back, okay, this check marks. I got my comps. Now I take 2,600 square feet times 305. We know that the resale value of the average home in the area based on Zillow, really quick, is $793,000. Okay, that's good to know. Why? Because we want to go in and we need to assess the value of our land based on the utilities, okay? So number 3 is the utilities, okay? So now we have our utilities. Now, when we go in and we look at our utilities, we want to know, is there water and is there electric, okay? Number 1, number 2. These are non-negotiables. If there's gas, even better. But gas doesn't have to be there. We can do it all electric. And in fact, you'll get some energy credits for doing that. It's not taboo to just go in and do water and electric on most of these homes anymore, but those are non-negotiables. A septic tank is doable, and you can go in and do one based on your local state rules and regulations. So just check and make sure that the other homes in the area have septic tanks and they're approved in the area. If there's no sewer, 99% of the time, they're going to have a septic tank. And the septic tank is in a lot of homes across the United States, and they're great. So take advantage of it. But water and electric are non-negotiables. Now, if the water and electric aren't there, what is the cost for that? You're going to subtract that cost from the land value. Well, what's the land value? So we're going to go back in and we want to talk about the land, okay? Now, number 4 is the land. And the land has to do with also the grade of the land, which is slopes, okay? So let's talk about this really quick. I want to know, I'm just going to look at it. This is just a visual observation. Is the land sitting really steep at like a 45-degree angle or greater? Or is it like 3-to-1 angle? That means that does it go for every foot that it goes up? And I'll just take my height for sake of example. So if I stand on the road and the lot is down here and I sit back and go, yep, that's 1 of me and that's 2 of me. And so that's going to be someplace in the neighborhood of about 11 feet, give or take, in elevation. Where do I build? Where do I build? Do I have retaining walls? And if I have retaining walls, what's the cost of those walls? And can my build afford it? Now, at $305 a square foot, your build can't afford retaining walls, or it's going to come out of your bottom line. So I sit back and go, get a flat lot. If there's a little slope, no big deal. If you can do a 3-to-1 slope, so for every foot it rises, it sets back 3 feet. So there's like this flat area on the lot, but the lot ultimately goes up. Okay, no big deal. There's a flat area. That flat area is my buildable space. I can do that. But this other area, if it's 3-to-1, no retaining walls. So if I sit back and where the flat area is up to my neck, and up to my neck is 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet tall, I'm like, okay, 4.5 feet tall. I need to know I can have 12 to 15 feet to absorb that from here. So I'll just walk it off. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, averaging about 3 feet per large step. And I'll be, it's about 15 to 18 feet. So I have a 3-to-1 slope and I can go in and I don't have to build a retaining wall. And that's just an easy way to assess the lot really quick. Now you have this flat area. The flat area is big, but the lot does slope again in the back. Well, again, you go up to the top, you stand on it, and you go, oh yeah, that's about a 6-foot elevation. It's a little higher than what I am. And so I got a 6-foot elevation there. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. I'm going to step it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. It's greater than 18 linear feet. So I'm going, okay, 6 feet up, 18 feet, 3-to-1 slope, no retaining walls. It's just a simple rule of thumb. So what we're looking for is 3-to-1 slopes, okay? The 3-to-1 slope rule, okay? This is very important. This is the 3-to-1 slope rule, and there's no retaining walls. No cost for retaining walls. I like that. The lot is buildable. Now, gas, water, and electric. Is it there? What is the cost for that? If it's not there, I have to subtract it from my land cost. Well, what is my land cost? Well, comps say $793. So we take $793. We know that we can't pay more than 20% for the land. Everything less that goes to your bottom line. So times 0.2, we know the lot is $158. So we have $158,000 for the overall cost of the land. Now, whatever our utility cost is going to be minus utilities. Now, if utilities are on the lot, you're going to absorb the utility cost to get them from the corner of the lot to your house in the build cost. But if it's like down the way, like 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet down the road, you're going to have to get the utilities there. It's better to have the utilities 300 feet down the road and pull them up than it is for you to go across the street and have to cut the road and bring it across the street, even if across the street's only 30 feet. Because it's more expensive to pull it to 30 feet than the 300 feet because of the road improvements and the road impact that you have. So you'd rather have it on your side of the road. Just a little rule of thumb. That was a little bonus for you. If you want to learn the exact strategy of how to buy the right piece of land in the right area to build a house, if you want to learn the exact strategy that I've been utilizing for almost 3 decades, then text me the word land at 505-560-0520. Let's go ground up. Let's buy land. Let's build houses, and let's start right now. Now, when we go in, we want to make sure it's the land cost minus utilities and minus retaining walls. And so when sometimes people ask, Jerome, I have this lot, I bought it, I got a great deal on it. Well, great, it's a great deal, but you got $150,000 worth of retaining walls, and I can only spend $158,000 on the land, and you paid $30,000, $40,000 for the land. You got such a great deal, you're screwed. You can't do nothing with it because your retaining walls cost more than your overall cost of the land, and you don't even have water yet. By the time you do that, you're gonna be over $200,000 into the land. It supersedes our 20% rule, and the land is no good. Doesn't pass the sniff test. Okay, makes sense? Now, when we go in, we want to make sure that number 5 is the last, but very, very, very important. I learned this in the 2008 recession. I'm looking at the streets and how busy the roadways are. So when we're looking at comps, how busy are the streets around me? If there's a lot of traffic impact, I want the lot that's further away from the roads. Just because it's a corner lot by a busy street doesn't make it a better lot. In fact, that busy street demises the overall value of that land because it's going to keep your house on the market for longer. People want exclusivity, guys. People want to be away from the roads. They want privacy. They don't want to be on top of each other. If you're in a very dense area, you're building up in Atlanta, you're building up in San Francisco, you're building in inner city areas across the United States, in the metropolitan areas where there's very dense development, then it's okay. But when you go into subdivisions and you go into larger, more semi-rural areas, you want to make sure that you're off those roadways so it's not the bleeding noise of traffic that demises it. We have a gentleman, his name is Rich, good guy, love Rich. He was building up in the Tucson area and he had this beautiful home and I could see these beautiful mountain views from one direction of these pictures he kept taking. And I saw the house was gorgeous, but he couldn't sell the house. And I told Rich one day, I said, bro, what's the problem with your listing? Give me your listing. Let's pull up your listing. And when I pull up his listing, in the backdrop of the house, I see an interstate. And I go, Rich, quick question for you. The scale on this is a little skewed, but can you just help me depict how far Interstate 10 that runs from friggin' Long Beach, California to Jacksonville, Florida, that carries semi-trucks in mass quantities through every single day, and there's millions of cars that pass on that road every single week. Can you give me just an idea how far I-10 is from the back end? He goes, oh yeah, Jerome, it's right in the backyard. And I'm like, bam, that's why that house hasn't sold. I told him, bro, don't ever buy a super busy interstate. Unless all the houses there are by them and that's the only thing you can buy, that's different. And if the comps support it, great. But if it's in a semi-rural area and all the other homes have private and exclusivity and your lot has the Interstate 10 in your backyard, you may want to reconsider the lot and just go into a better area. These 5 things, ladies and gentlemen, these 5 things right here in 10 minutes, you can do at any Starbucks, cafe, or in the front seat of your pickup truck or your car, wherever you go and look for land in less than 10 minutes. And if they pass this 10-minute rule of underwriting, then ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go out and we're going to put an offer on some land and we're going to move forward and start doing our real due diligence and start check marking the real cost to all of the variables that we may be considering on this build. For more incredible building tips and content just like this, click and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Always give me some love. Pound that thumbs up button. And if you're watching this on a second run and not live, then comment down below, #repeat, and otherwise just comment your thoughts down below on what you need for more success on your next build. And until next time, go out and compound your success.